Shabbat Shalom and Chag HaSukkot Sameach. Happy Sukkot, everybody. We are coming to you from our beautiful sanctuary this morning here in Kansas City area. We're in Overland Park, actually. I'm Rabbi Javier Catapan, and I'm joined by Leslie Zucker and our technical help volunteers who are helping have a presence online, including our digital docents. If you are joining us on Facebook Live, links to the prayer pages and other information will appear in the comments line. If you're watching us through the virtual sanctuary, the link to the PDF is at the top of the player, just above the player, and other links could be found in the e-news you received yesterday. Again, thank you to our digital docents for managing our stream.
They had a huge task last night. For those of you who weren't with us last night, the internet just disappeared. Just disappeared. And so the docents and our streaming guys got us back online, and they were so smooth about it, we didn't even know. So thank you to the docents.
I didn't know anything about it. I just, went ahead like everything was fine.
Technology. It literally, like, no internet anywhere. So it came back, we fixed it. Thanks, guys and gals.
So let me know if you missed anything. We can redo it next week. Or you can watch it on the virtual sanctuary.
Yeah, they got it back up.
Oh, wonderful. So if you are on Facebook Live, we invite you to say hello by typing Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach or Chag Sameach. If you need immediate technical help, please reach out to CBT's Technical Assistance Line, TAL, at 913-303-1134. Please text the number, and a docent will call you as soon as they can. If you have feedback about our service, please write your comments down and send us an email next week. We'd love to hear from you. So thank you in advance for that. And again, Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach, everybody. Welcome. Our service will continue as we together join in offering thanks to God for having restored our souls and bringing us back to this beautiful day on page 414, Modeh Ani. Modeh Ani lefanecha, melech chai v'kayam, שהחזרת בי נשמתי בחמלה, אהבה אמונתך, רבה אמונתך, מודה אני לפניך, מלך חי וקיים, שהחזרת בי נשמתי בחמלה, רבה אמונתך, רבה אמונתך, רבה אמונתך. We continue together on page 420. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who formed the human body with skill, creating the body's many pathways and openings. It is well known before your throne of glory that if one of them be wrongly opened or closed, it would be impossible to endure and stand before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, who heals all flesh, working wondrously. Baruch atah Adonai, רופא כל בשר ומפליא לעשות.
Hello,
continue now together as we come to offer special blessings for daily miracles, Nisim Bechol Yom, to begin on page 424.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lesech vivina lehachvin ben yom uvein laila.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivrim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, zokef kefufim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, rokah haaretz al hamayim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, המכין מצעדי גבר.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish arumim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, הנותן ליהב כוח.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamavir sheina meinai utnuma me'afapai.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, שעשני בצלם אלוהים.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani bat chorin.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, שעשני ישראל.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, ozer Yisrael bigvura.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, עוטר ישראל בתפארה.
Amen.
On page 441, in the middle of the page, we join together in singing Tzaddik Katamar, a selection from Psalm 92, a psalm, a song for Shabbat.
Tzaddik Katamar yifrach, ke'erez balevanon, balevanon yizke, shetuli bebeit Adonai, bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu, od yenugu beseva, deshenim verananim yiyu lehagid, ki yashar Adonai tzuri velo avlata bo. On page 445, we conclude this section of the service, the Pezukei, the Zimbra, by joining together and singing verses from Psalm 150, Hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
We continue together in the middle of page 454. The words Or Chadash al Tzion Ta'ir, shine a new light upon Zion, that we all may swiftly merit its radiance. Or Chadash al Tzion Ta'ir, al Tzion Ta'ir, Or Chadash al Tzion Ta'ir, al Tzion Ta'ir, ונזכה כולנו מעלה אורו, ונזכה כולנו מעלה אורו. אור חדש על ציון תאיר, על ציון תאיר, אור חדש על ציון תאיר, על ציון תאיר, ונזכה כולנו מעלה אורו, ונזכה כולנו מעלה אורו. We join together at the top of page 457. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch Ata Adonai, Bocher B'mo Israel Be'ahava. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בהם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם,
אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
אמת. Page 463. When justice burns within us like a flaming fire, when love evokes willing sacrifice from us, when to the last full measure of selfless devotion we demonstrate our belief in the ultimate triumph of truth and righteousness, then goodness enters our lives and we can begin to change the world. Page 466, Mi Chamocha. Mi Chamocha va'elim Adonai, כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות, עושה פלא, עושה פלא.
שירה חדשה, שיפור גאולים, לשיר על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו, והניחו ויאמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש,
נורא תהילות, עושה פלא, עושה פלא, עושה פלא. As we continue into our service, we move now into the Amidah, the standing prayer, the tefillah. It begins on page 468 and continues through page 492. We take this opportunity to pray the words from our Siddur silently and to also use this time for a private prayer and a meditation. We enter into the Amidah moment by reciting together Tzur Israel and then Adonai Sfatai.
צור
ישראל, קומה בעזרת ישראל, ופדחי נומך יהודה וישראל. גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise.
ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש לדור vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, nagid od lecha, ulenetzach netzachim, ulenetzach netzachim, kedushatecha nagid, לשבחך אלוהינו, מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד, כי אל מלך גדול, כי אל מלך גדול, וקדוש אתה, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, נגיד עוד לך, ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש. We continue now with the service for the reading of the Torah. Begins on page 495. After the gathering of your threshing floor and your vat, you shall hold the feast of booths for 7 days, for Adonai your God will bless all your crops and all your undertakings, and you shall have nothing but joy. We continue on page 496 with Adonai, Adonai. On this morning, we have a special reading that is not connected to the cycle of Torah readings that we normally follow from Shabbat to Shabbat. We are kind of in a hiatus now because we read the very last Torah portion that is read regularly on Shabbat last Shabbat. And now this Shabbat is Chol HaMoed Sukkot, so we have a special reading. And next Shabbat is Shmini Atzeret Simchat Torah, special reading. So it's going to be 2 more weeks before we actually go back to reading the regular cycle, which will begin with Bereshit, with the first Torah portion of the year.
Is that when we restart the 3 years? We do the next
So
portion?
now we're going to do the next, I will announce, it will be the second
Gotcha.
year.
So exciting.
Yeah, we're going through it. So the Torah reading for this morning comes from the book of Exodus, and it's a section from Parashat Ki Tisa, and it's a relatively long section, so I've chosen to read the specific section that mentions the festival of Sukkot, and that is in chapter 34, beginning with verse 21. And this is a text that appears almost verbatim twice in the Torah, here in Exodus 34 and also in Exodus 23. And it is a succession, it's a listing of all the holidays that are found in the Torah, that are the central holidays. And the first one to be mentioned is Shabbat, Sheshet Yamim Ta'avot, Uvashvi'it Tishbot, so that's Shabbat. But then we have the three so-called pilgrimage holidays, and they are Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot. Now, in the reading this morning, the word Sukkot does not appear. The holiday is called by a different name, Chag HaAsif, the festival of the ingathering, which you might have heard the name before. It's a strange name. It is indeed Sukkot, although again the sukkah itself is not mentioned. The name Chag HaAsif derives from the harvest and the thanksgiving character of the festival. And yes, this is the basis for our regular Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving, a festival of harvest. But the idea here is that this celebration is about the final ingathering of the yield of the fields and the orchards and the storage in barns of some kind before the beginning of the rainy season. Now, here where we live in the Midwest, it rains regardless of when. I mean, we'll read every week. So that's why I'm always worried about outdoor services, because it could rain anytime. But in the land of Israel, in that area of the world, even in ancient times, it really only rained during the rainy season. That's its name, which starts around this time of the year, during Sukkot, and it will last through Pesach, through Passover. I always mention this when, if you lived in Israel or visited for an extended period of time, when we talk about the rainy season, it's nothing like here, rainy season. All it means is that it could rain. It might rain. It won't rain every single week or anything like that.
So it's not like a big wet.
No.
It's not a big wet season.
No. So, and when they talk about the dry season, from about Passover, Pesach through Sukkot, it will not rain. And it's the case. It will not rain. I remember my first Yom Kippur in Israel. In the afternoon, there was a sprinkle, like a few sprinkles, and it was very exciting to everybody because it rarely does. But it lasted about 30 seconds. That was it. So that was the beginning, the beginning of the rainy season.
Oh, wow.
So it will not rain. But what happens is that you have to understand that in the ancient world, they didn't have a lot of waterproofing materials. So when they gather things and they put them together in a barn, um, they had some protection, but water could have damaged the crops very easily. So it was very important to get them off the fields and get them together. And that's what they talk about, the ingathering.
Oh, thank you for explaining that, because I thought it was like an ingathering of people, like the people came in
Oh,
for the
I see,
festival. I had
understand.
no idea.
Right, right.
Thank you.
So, but there is an ingathering of people, but it's not called ingathering. The asif, the ingathering, is in reference to the harvest. But these three holidays have one thing in common, and this is what has created or generated a lot of commentaries, and is the verse that we have on our portion this morning. On verse 23. It says, Shalosh pe'amim bashana yera'eh kol zechurcha. So 3 times a year, all your males shall appear before the sovereign Adonai, the God of Israel. So the question that many commentators and scholars have had is, what does this mean? First of all, we now think, knowing the history of the Jewish people, that these 3 pilgrimage holidays, or festivals as they called, were celebrated primarily in the city of Jerusalem. But notice that neither here, nor in early on in chapter 23 of Exodus, we find the name Yerushalayim mentioned at all. So it was a pilgrimage to a shrine. It could have been regional shrines of some kind. And we know that they were far away because at the end of this section that we're reading, it says, no one will covet your land when you go up to appear before Adonai. Meaning, if you leave your house unattended, no any kind of alarm systems in those days, you were gone, you trusted that nobody will steal your property. So that was a real fear. So the Torah specifically says, no one will covet. And I know this says the word covet, but the way that we understand the word covet here and in the 10 Commandments is covet means the action of actually grabbing something. It's not just thinking about, oh maybe I'll covet something. No, the Torah is very clear. It's actually the grabbing. And here, of course, it has to mean that, because actually this confirms the interpretation of the 10 Commandments, because why would you be fearful if somebody just coveted? Well, they can envy all they want as long as they don't touch anything.
I'm learning so much today.
So, but the really interesting word, and again, I'm only going to give you a couple of interpretations, and then my very own, is this little word, yera'eh, which is usually translated as shall appear. In the 14th century, Gersonides, who lived in southwest France, also called the Ralbag. You have the Rambam, that's Maimonides. You have Rashi, and now you have Ralbag. Teaches the text says to be seen in the nif'al form rather than the active to see. Now the nif'al, it means a passive voice, to imply that we are that as we see God, so does God see us and notices us. Now there's a whole discussion in the Talmud about this particular verse. In Talmud Hagigah, is one of the tractates. They are actually arguing about the case of a person who is blind or who's missing an eye, because this is all about seeing and being seen. Can that person fulfill this commandment? So Rabbi Yochanan ben Dahavai says in the name of Rabbi Yehuda, one who is blind in one eye is exempt from the mitzvah of appearance, of going on pilgrimage. As it states, 3 times a year all your males shall appear Yera'eh before Adonai your God. Since there are no vowels in the text, this can be read. And this is an interesting point. The rabbis are talking, writing in the 3rd, 4th century, and they're telling us, remember, until not probably the 10th century or so, we actually have a system of vocalization for the Hebrew Bible. So they're looking at the words, and they're looking at just the Hebrew letters. So there are no vowels. So we tend to read it, Vayera'eh, means you shall appear. But they say you don't have to. All your males will see Ir'eh, and this the same letters with different vowels, Adonai, God. This teaches that in the same manner that one comes to see, so he comes to be seen. So just as one comes to see with both eyes, so the obligation to be seen applies only to the one who comes with both eyes. Therefore, one who is blind is one eye is exempt from this mitzvah or appearance at the temple. I'm not so keen on this whole thing of excluding blind people and all that, or half blind. But the point here is that the word can be read both as to be seen and to see. All right? You follow?
Yes.
So let's go back to Gersonides now. So Gersonides says that we see God, but God also see us and notice us. Because Gersonides ended with the Talmud behind him, is thinking that what is the subject of the verb? Is the verb a passive voice, so it's about us being seen, or is about God seeing us when we get to the temple? In general, Gersonides continues, it is well understood that we are not actually obligated to go to the temple in order that God see us, which is obvious, all right? I mean, we had in some synagogues that phrase on top of the ark, Dalif Nehemiah Taomed, know in front of whom you stand. Well, meaning, God is watching us all the time. So why do we have to go to a place, to Jerusalem? For God's eyes range all over the earth. Rather, our pilgrimage is in order to see God, inasmuch as it is possible for us. And this, in turn, will be a cause for God to see us. Now, I really like Gersonides in this point, because what Gersonides is saying is with something that Heschel and many other philosophers picked up later on. And it is that we human beings are looking for God, but God is also looking for us. But it's only when we take a step forward to be seen, then God also notices us.
That's really beautiful.
So, as if to say, and I say, they say life is what is 90% showing up. So, really, a lot of this is really making the effort. And I think that's what's behind the mitzvah in the Torah, this commandment, that we have to make an effort to want to be close to our tradition and to our practices. And, we are here after high holidays. We saw a lot of people coming together, and so we know that is part of our inheritance and what we want to do as human beings. The challenge is to continue that during the year as we move forward into the fall. And so this is, excuse me, this is a way for us to say to God, here, notice us. We are here, and And I think that this is what the Torah is saying, that it takes, we always talk about this, takes a partnership with God.
Right.
But this is the partnership. You actually have to go show yourself in front of God if you want to be noticed. And that is, as I said earlier yesterday, so much of the things about Sukkot are really a celebration of our bodies, to go and be present, not only in the sukkah, sitting and building it. I mean,
right.
Somebody said this is proof that Jewish men can build something. Really, I mean, with your hands.
Right,
We're
right.
always talking about the Torah and thinking, but this is doing. And I think the same happened in ancient times. Only 3 times a year you have to do something. You have to carry your things to the sanctuary, probably in Jerusalem, to show you that you are in this, not only with your spirit, with your body and with all your presence.
Right.
Before we read together the section from the Torah, we will recite the blessings. They are on page 499. Holy One of blessing, your presence fills creation. You have enlightened this path with the wisdom of Torah, giving it to the Jewish people in their particular way. Blessed are you, merciful One, who gives this Torah to the Jewish people. Amen. ששת ימים תעבוד, וביום השביעי תשבות. בחריש ובקציר תשבות, וחג שבועות תעשה לך, ביקורי קציר חיטים, וחג האסיף תקופת השנה. 3 פעמים בשנה יראה כל זכורך את פני האדון אדוני אלוהי ישראל. כי יוריש גויים מפניך, והרחבתי את גבולך. ולא יחמוד איש את ארצך, ובהעלותך לראות את פני אדוני אלוהיך 3 פעמים בשנה. Alternative blessings for the reading of the Torah are found on page 499. Please join us. Holy One of blessing, your presence fills creation. This Torah is a teaching of truth, whole and balanced, and from it comes eternal life for the people who embrace it. Blessed are you, merciful One, who gives this Torah to the Jewish people. As we gather on this festival of Sukkot and Shabbat, we think of those in need of healing. You have access to our Mishaberach list throughout the e-news that you received yesterday. You can also follow the link in the comments. If you like to offer names, please type them in the comments so we can all see them. Please go ahead and type them. And we add to our Mishaberach list the President of the United States. And as we think of those in need of healing, we also want to offer a prayer for those who help in healing health workers all over the world. May those who care for the sick with their hands, their voices, and their hearts be blessed with courage and stamina. May those who pursue healing through medical skill and knowledge be blessed with insight, patience, and compassion. May all of us, the sick and the well together, find courage and hope. And let us say, Amen. And let us say, Amen. Service for the reading of the Torah concludes on page 514 with Etz Chaim.
Etz Chaim lama chazikim ba betomcheha meushat deracheha dalchenu
We prepare for our moment of remembrance, moment to share a meditation. As we continue now, we prepare for our moment of remembrance, page 593. In nature's ebb and flow, God's eternal law abides. When tears dim our vision, and grief clouds our understanding, we often lose sight of God's eternal plan. Yet we know that growth and decay, life and death, all reveal a divine purpose. God, who is our support in the struggles of life, is also our hope in death. We have set God before us and shall not despair. In God's hands are the souls of all the living and the spirits of all flesh. Under God's protection we abide, and by God's love we are comforted. O life of our life, soul of our soul, cause your light to shine into our hearts and fill our spirits with abiding trust in you. We now think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us. We are observing the Shloshim period for Paula Greenwald, mother and mother-in-law of Beth and Jerry Jordan, Susan and Joel Waxman, and mother of Doug Greenwald, and Jack Miller, grandfather of Brett and Krista Gordon, and great-grandfather of Caroline, Joshua, and Sarah. And on this Shabbat, we remember the following yortzites of members of our congregation: June Alpert, Ben Apple, Ida Applebaum, Gaylis Bopi, Evelyn Bierman, Sally S. Blum, Ruth Breslow, Lawrence Cohn, Gussie Ellis, Ida Ferber, Jean Rosenfeld Fisher, David Gantman, David Gerson, Jean Karch, Lillian Nathan Kirsch, Joyce LaBeau, Bennett Levin, Max Levine, Martha Levy, Albert Lewis, Maurice Litvine, Frida Pullman, James Reedy, Sidney H. Robineau, Bertha Silberg, Florence Saltman, Max Stein, Joan Gilges Stetna, Hilda Zavalo, Jane Zucker. Zichronam Livracha. May the memories be for a blessing. Join us on Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish, on page 598. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמה דברה חירותה וימליך מלכותה, בחייכון ובימיכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהא שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דע אמירם בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. Before we depart, it is time for some announcements. We'd like to thank everyone who's joined us from our area and from other parts of the country and the world. Thanks special to Leslie Zucker for the music and our team of digital docents for helping our congregation have a virtual presence. Just a reminder that our building is open, but you need an appointment to be let into the building. You can reach our staff during regular business hours. Registrations for our 5781 small groups is open.
Woohoo!
Our small groups bring CBT members together once a month through their passions, from eating barbecue to knitting and chatting. You can find a registration link in the e-news. I would recommend registering sooner than later. These small groups will fill in. Our next lunch with the rabbi is this Thursday with me, October the 8th at noon on Zoom. Please check out our Facebook page or contact the office if you need more details. Next Fridays will be our Simchat Torah service. There has been a change. Please be aware that there will not be an in-person component to the service. It will be online only, and the service will start at our regular time, 6:30 p.m.
Also, many of you got to see the sukkah last night, or if you've been watching Facebook, we've been posting about the construction and decoration. And if you would like to come have lunch, Aviva will be hosting a couple of lunches in our beautiful sukkah, Wednesday the 7th and Friday the 9th at noon. Now, we're going to be following all of the COVID precautions while fulfilling the mitzvah of eating in the sukkah, which means you will definitely need to be bringing your own food so that is all safe. Please email connect@beth-torah.org. That's connect@beth-torah.org to RSVP. Also, if you are interested in just coming and having your family have a lunch or a dinner in the sukkah, that's wonderful. Please call the office. We're trying to keep track of that so that we keep a safe distance and make sure there's time for cleaning in between. So we just want to make sure we're all staying safe. Also, our song session is back this coming Wednesday, which is the 7th at 7 o'clock. On the Facebook Live. And if you're not receiving the e-news that contains all of this lovely information, please let us know. We're happy to get you back on the list.
So don't forget to follow us on Facebook, like our page, and comments about this other virtual events. Please remember to find us on Facebook. So our closing prayer this morning is Ein Keloheinu on page 626.
Ein Keloheinu,
ein Kadoneinu, ein Kemalkeinu, ein Kemoshienu, ein Keloheinu, ein Kadoneinu, ein Kemalkeinu, ein Kemoshienu. Mi Eloheinu, mi Adonenu, mi Malkeinu, mi Moshienu. En Keloheinu, en Adonenu, en Malkeinu, en Moshienu, en Keloheinu, en Adonenu. En Malkeinu, en Moshienu. Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu. En Keloheinu, en Adonenu, en Malkeinu, en Moshienu. Adonenu, enke malkeinu, enke Moshienu. Shabbat shalom, Chag Sameach, everybody.
Take care of each other out there. Mwah.